Our second question tonight has to do with groundwater, not surface water. There have been many stories this summer about domestic and ag wells going dry, and also the water table, the aquifer going down and down and down, and that also leads to subsidence of the land as well. That's also a consideration. A lot of people believe the time has come to regulate the groundwater supply, which has never happened in California. How would that affect the valley's ability to manage the drought and allow farmers to continue farming? What is the solution to this?
Well, you heard it here first. Tomorrow morning you're going to open up your newspapers and you're going to see that the California legislature this afternoon passed groundwater regulations for the state of California. There goes my notes. So, essentially it's been an extremely long effort for the last year or so in recognition that we are deeply dependent upon groundwater, particularly given the brokenness of the system that you heard relative to surface water supply reliability by the previous question. There's really two futures that we have ahead of us as a result of this new legislation. It does allow for and encourage continued local management of groundwater. And for the last 20 or 30 years in the state of California, your local water management agencies, your water districts, have adopted groundwater management plans and tried to work collaboratively with the pumpers to protect and manage that resource. Difficult to do without surface water supply reliability, but the statute now, or the law now, encourages those local efforts to continue. There are performance objectives that are now written into that translated mean balanced groundwater basins within a 20-year period. And it will be up to us as local agencies collaboratively with the users of that groundwater to figure the solution out. I like to say that we stand at a place where there are really two futures ahead of us. One future is that we benefit from the efforts of our congressional leaders, from our state leaders, from the efforts of the local water agencies to enhance surface water supplies and conjunctively manage our surface and groundwater to keep the economic engine in this valley going. The other solution is we fail at these surface water attempts, and the only way we balance groundwater in that type of a world is by reducing demand. And I don't think people really appreciate what that means, but that means smaller ag footprint, smaller ag productivity, and more impact on us as residents in this valley.
The groundwater legislation that was referenced, obviously, is something that has been talked about in California for a number of years and exacerbated by the drought. I haven't had a chance to look at the actual agreement that they came up with. The timeline, the 20 years is what you referenced. If it's linked toward fixing this broken water system, can be doable, I think. Most of the long-term solutions we're looking at are 10 to 12 years. One of the parts of the legislation that we're working on in Congress is to do a water assessment of what our true annual usage is, which we estimate to be between 2 and 2.5 million acre-feet a year here in the valley. And the assessment's important because we know, certainly for years now, and after 3 dry years, that the current amount of pumping that we're doing, unless we increase our supply, is unsustainable. That's just the bottom line. We see it in both the east side and the west side. We see all the groundwater is the lifeline for our farmers. It's a lifeline for people who have built homes in some parts of the valley here that may not have been well advised, but they're dependent upon a well and a septic tank. And we see a lot of those homes, those domestic use, having great difficulty in different parts of the valley, unincorporated areas. And so the groundwater legislation is required, as I understand it, to be implemented locally within that time frame. So it'll be the water districts having to meet certain goals, as I understand it, within certain time frames. If we increase our supply, our reservoirs, if we're able to fix the broken plumbing system in the Delta, if we are able to link this toward growing the water supply in California, then this is doable and we can create a sustainable situation. But if we don't do the other things, managing the groundwater by itself is a slow spiral death, in my opinion. And groundwater legislation by itself, without increasing the supply, without fixing the plumbing in the delta, will provide that other scenario that I think you laid out very clearly.